I'm about to show you exactly how you could train to achieve the female gaze physique inside of 2026 so you can get attraction from girls and stop being a lonely loser. We're going to jump into it straight away. Why should you listen to me? Well, firstly, I went from this picture on the left to this picture on the right. This is my physique transformation over a few years, and on the left here you can see this is when I was training to get big, training to appeal to what I thought was the standard, what I thought I needed to do, bulking up, training heavy, training hard, you know, all this stuff, and it just left me looking like fucking shit. I was fat, bloated, didn't have much muscle mass at all, and this was not getting me attraction that I actually wanted, that I seeked. And now into the present, training for the female gaze physique, I've achieved a physique that has all the aspects which we're going to discuss on what is female gaze approved and what is attractive to girls and what will actually get you dating success. Now, training for the female physique provides the illusion that you're bigger anyways. So even if you think that this is going to be some different way of training and that this is not effective and that you should just stick to traditional bodybuilding training, then you're kind of wrong, because at the end of the day, training like this, because we're using geometry, will make you look bigger anyways. And as you can see here, if you don't believe me, my physique has given me 10 times success in dating than I previously had. Here's some pictures if you don't believe me, going on dates, etc, etc, etc. Don't need to explain. Did cardio afterwards. So firstly, before we get into it, I need to explain to you what the female gaze physique is versus what so many guys are trying to achieve, which is the male gaze physique. Now, what we think females want. When you start lifting, you are inspired by all these professional bodybuilders, all these bulked up, massive looking dudes like Chris Bumstead here and this other dude here. And while these physiques, you know, they look kind of decent, we think, you know, Chris Bumstead's fucking amazing physique, which he does. But it doesn't really appeal to the female attractiveness, the female gaze. The key traits of the male gaze physique are here. We can see it's roundness and it's a total fullness. So if you look how massive his shoulders are. Look how kind of round and like full and plump he looks. And same with this guy. He looks very round. And there's a lot of muscular protrusion on the left here. A lot of like bulging muscles. And honestly, these physiques are quite large and uncanny. So although they look very different, you know, they look very shocking and very uncanny and eye-catching in the public, but at the end of the day, females are not really going to be attracted to this. There are some populace, but we're going for the general universal population and attracting as many girls as we can. And as you can see here also, it's usually on an extreme body fat spectrum. So we either think as guys when we're in the gym, we either think we have to get bulked and turn into a fucking bear and get like super fat and super massive, or we have to be fucking dick skin shredded and literally look like a nutsack. And you can see here the two sides of that specifically. Now I think we should be training for the female gaze physique, because at the end of the day, most guys start the gym so they can get girls. And this is what females actually want. These three pictures here specifically define the female gaze physique to a T. You can see here there's like celebrities, you got David Lade and two actors, I'm not quite sure who they are. But you can see in all of these physiques, this is the female gaze physique. This is what turns heads for girls and gets them fucking horny, gets them into you, gets them attracted to you. And there's a few key indicators that we are going to be able to actually emulate to achieve this in ourselves. And that is a lean body with visible six-pack abs. You can see all these guys have a well-developed midsection with a visible washboard ab kind of look. Then they have a V-taper with shoulders that are wider than waist. So you can see all of these guys have a visible V-taper aesthetic. They're all framed like this. And I've talked about it in my other videos, but this is the classic 1.6x physique ratio that we need to be achieving, the shoulder to waist ratio that is biologically proven to be attractive to girls. And as well, compared to the other guys in the photo, the male gaze physique, these guys have striking contrast and sharpness. If you look at all of these guys, their shape, their geometry is so optimal that it creates this sharp and almost like artistic like look to them. They just look like they're carved out of fucking marble. They look like the Greek god physique, right? They just look aesthetic, and you can just look at it compared to the other guys. It's just a thing that happens with your eyes naturally. You can't really pinpoint it, but it's because they've mastered contrast and they've mastered sharpness and how they've developed their shape. And onto that, they have a long kind of slender appearance that flows together. If you look back at the male gaze physique, everything looks kind of blocky, everything looks kind of round like I was saying. But if you go back here, they have this kind of flowing physique where all the muscles are equally, developed, and everything looks really symmetrical and really put together. That's going to create that hero physique that women are seeking. There's a reason why all these guys appear on TV shows, on popular drama shows, on movies. It's because this is what attracts females. This is what keeps females watching, not this. So we need to be creating this. We need to be emulating this ourselves. And before I go on about how we can actually train to achieve this, I want to explain some genetic advantages or some predispositions which are going to influence how well you can actually develop your physique. And the first one is going to be height. There is no doubt that height plays a huge factor in how you can look. It's going to play into that long, slender aesthetic look, which we know is more aesthetic than somebody who is short. Unfortunately, we can't really change our height, so we're going to be trying to emphasize and focus on the things we can change, because we can still develop an aesthetic physique. And in fact, I've seen guys that are shorter, I have friends that are shorter, who have developed the female gaze physique properly, and although they're quite shorter, they actually make themselves look taller, weirdly enough. It's because they're focusing on the right things. And one of those things comes down to focusing on frame. Now, frame is largely genetic, but we can do some things which I discuss in other videos to boost it and improve our chances of getting a wider frame. Or we can actually fraud this by building muscles that develop a V-taper frame. And some guys are naturally going to be born with massive clavicles, very wide shoulders, and have it easy. Look at swimmers, look at this guy, for example. But even if you don't have the best frame, even if you don't have the best genetics, you can still grow and you can still build the illusion that you do. So taking into account, I'm now going to show you what we actually need to do to train to get the physique. And firstly, we need to understand what our goal is. Our goal is to gain foundational mass and achieve symmetry, and then branch into maximizing physique for female appeal and aesthetics. Because at the end of the day, we still want to have a well-built, well-rounded physique, but it's then what we do on top of that, the fine-tunings that we can achieve, that differential, that extra bit that then makes us attractive to females. Because we know we want muscle, we know we want size, but we need to develop the correct things so we're getting extra size and extra shape in the correct places. Now, the general consensus, barbell, dumbbells, and cables are all we really need. You don't really have to go and listen to this online fluff, this online bullshit about guys creating new exercises, new workout routines. Unless you're advanced, you need to stick to the basics, which I'm going to explain, and you will be able to get 90% of your results for the first 2 or 3 years, even beyond that. If you're eating right, if you're training right, and doing the things that I explain in this video, you're going to have no problem getting to the aesthetic physique, which is going to attract you girls quicker than you think. So what are we actually going to focus on? Well, we're going to focus on the staple 6 movement patterns of aesthetics. So number 1, we have to be focusing on a vertical push movement. This is something where we're pressing overhead, such as a shoulder press, and this is going to help develop our anterior deltoid, which is our shoulder, and our upper chest region. So that's going to give you that shelf that actually makes you look aesthetic and actually makes you look full from the side, as well as giving you a shoulder dominant physique, which is going to make you look big and more protective when you're wearing t-shirts. Then we're going to move on to the vertical pull. This is going to target your lats and biceps, and like I explained in all my videos, it's the V-taper physique that we need to be aiming for. And when we're focusing on a vertical pull, specifically a weighted pull-up variation, that is when our lats and biceps are going to go the most. So I went from not being able to do many pull-ups at all to being able to do 2 plates, or 90-pound or 40-kilo pull-ups for multiple reps, multiple sets. And it's when I did this that my back absolutely blew up. My lats got wider, my back got thicker, and I created that aesthetic wide V-taper frame that from the back is super aesthetic and super attractive to women and perfectly matches with the female gaze physique requirements. And someone's looking at me from the front as well, they can see that my lats stick out, and it creates more of a wide, broad frame protective effect. So next, we're going to be focusing on the horizontal push. Now, this is something that we need as a staple if we're trying to develop all pushing muscles, develop power, and develop our chest, shoulders, and triceps. Things like your typical bench press or machine presses. Pretty straightforward there. You don't need to complicate things. Next, we have a horizontal pull, and this is to develop the mid and upper back, because we know the back is one of the sexiest things to girls and to getting the female gaze physique. If we can make it wider through pull-ups and we can make it thicker through rowing, a horizontal movement path, then we're going to be covering all aspects of aesthetics. It's going to develop your traps, your rhomboids, your mid back, even sometimes your lower back. It's basically a requirement And you can do any kind of row, but I would recommend a chest supported row. That way you're getting the most stability. And here you can see me, I'm doing a T-bar row, very good exercise, and you can almost do shrugs with this as well, which is going to help develop that upper back even more. Then next, we're going to the lower body section because we don't want to be skipping legs. We still want to have aesthetic lower body, even though in the most cases, girls are looking at our upper body. We still need to implement a hip hinge, which is, in the case of this, an RDL, conventional deadlift, some kind of glute, hamstring, lower back dominant movement. It's going to work the whole posterior chain, the whole backside of our legs, and it's going to give us that thicker, denser look, make us look more powerful. We're not trying to look like a twink. We still want to have good size and still look athletic, and that's what we need this for. As well, it's going to help you with all sorts of other things glute related, if you know what I'm saying. Then next, we got a hip flexion movement. This is for the front side of your lower chain, so things like your quads and your hips and even your abs, because you're going to be bracing a lot. You just need this shit. You need this to build big legs, particularly or specifically a squat. Any kind of squat variation works best. I had my best results from doing barbell squats. If you don't have the mobility, you can do things like hack squats or other machines. There's plenty of stuff now, but you don't want to be complicating it and doing weird single leg, stupid, different resistance chain, like different resistance pattern movements. Just stick to the basics. Do squat. Do these 6 movement patterns: vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, horizontal pull, hip hinge, and hip flexion. That is how you're going to be able to develop that V taper, that female gaze physique look. That is going to be your base. Now, to complement this, we are going to be focusing on the female gaze complementary muscles. This is what you need to focus on if you want to take your physique from building a good foundation and looking good and looking like you train in the gym to then optimizing for extra female attraction and getting that wow factor that makes girls stare and makes girls lust over you. And there's 4 key areas which give you the biggest bang for your buck aside from developing the lats and that V taper. The first one is forearms. Girls love veiny forearms. You need to have vascular forearms if you want to boost your aesthetics because, number one, it's visible in shirts all the time. Even long sleeve shirts, you might even get some veins protruding. But the main thing is it signals power and it signals health, and it's a sign of, like, I don't know, something girls just, this is just attractive. This is just generally attractive to girls when they see you have veiny forearms. I've heard it myself multiple times, and I've reaped the benefits of having veiny forearms. They are genetic, but you can train them through doing a lot of arm exercises, doing a lot of heavy deadlifts, stuff like that. It's just going to pump heaps of blood into your hands and into your forearms, and you're going to get good results there. The next one is the neck. Now again, these are things that you can see when you're just wearing a t-shirt. It's more masculine to have a wider neck. That's what we're kind of going for. We're going for this masculine look, which is aesthetic. It's very polarizing when you have a thicker neck, and I'm trying to work on this myself by training it, doing neck curls and neck extensions and trap exercises. You're just going to look more masculine, you're going to look protective, and you're going to look like a real man. That's what girls are attracted to. The next one is side delts. We need to be training our side delts because that is going to give us that cap look, and it's going to separate us from looking like that weird, tapered down, chubby effect to having the contrast that we need, and like I explained, is essential inside of the female gaze physique. Like those actors and the popular people I showed you before, they have this contrasting, this shapely shoulder region. And you can see here, even on me, I've tried to develop this myself. It gives that sort of round, that cap on the edge. And that's going to create that contrast, that geometry that we really need to be looking for. You can do this by side delts, and I have many other videos on how to grow your shoulders, which you can check out. Then we also have our abs. Now, I don't know why so many guys forget about this, but this is one of the lacking points that people are just ignoring completely, and it's abs. We need to have washboard abs. Washboard abs are like one of the most aesthetic, appeal-based things that girls absolutely love. When you're at a beach, you're standing out if you have a six-pack. That's by getting to a low body fat percentage, but you can train them, and you should be training them. Doing your compounds, doing the staple 6 exercises, which I've explained, will train them significantly and will train them really well, but you also need to be doing some extra to make sure you develop them. And particularly, you can be doing crunches and you can be doing leg raises. That's what I would recommend. Now, as for training frequency, because we know this is how to actually train for the physique, how should you be training, how often should you be training, and a bunch of other stuff. You should be training 3 to 5 times per week. Your intensity should be high and your volume should be low for the staple 6 to reduce central nervous system fatigue, because we don't want to be going in every single day and destroying our body, destroying our nervous system. We want to be focusing on quality over quantity. And if you just focus on pumping out heavy sets with, a lower volume and lower amount of sets, maybe 2 sets of like 4 to 8 reps on all these exercises, then that's when you're going to get the best results without absolutely frying yourself. Because we know that we're recovering when we're at home, when we're not in the gym. People think that going to the gym every single day is super productive. Unless you're on steroids and unless you have extreme recovery potential, it's really not optimal. You still need 2 or 3 days throughout the week to rest and recover and build muscle and actually help your nervous system to relax and to get back into it so you can push harder in the next session. We want to be focusing on hitting at each movement pattern at least twice per week. So what this means is that we need to be doing one of these things at least twice per week. So for example, in one session you could be doing, a vertical push, a vertical pull, horizontal push, a horizontal pull, and then that's your session. And then the next session you come and do a hip hinge and hip flexion. That's 2 workouts in the week, and then you just repeat that later on in the week. So you're hitting every movement pattern twice per week. And the upper limit to this, I would say, is 3 or 4. You don't want to be going too often on the same things, because then you're just going to be doing too much frequency and you're not going to be able to recover enough, and you're not going to be able to really push and measure success. So that's a general consensus for the staple 6. Then for the complementary muscle groups, the female gaze stuff, this is where you can kind of sprinkle it in and do higher volume throughout the week. You can throw these in whenever. At the end of a workout, do some forearms. On your bed, do some neck curls every day. Do some side delts multiple times per week. Train your abs nearly every day. You want to be doing this and acting like they are the cherry on top. You're building your base. Imagine you're making a cake. You're making the cake using the staple 6 ingredients, which is like flour, sugar, eggs, whatever. They are your vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal pull, hip hinge, and hip flexion. That's what's going to make the base, the foundation of your aesthetic physique. But then this is the icing. This is what really makes the cake taste good. That forearms, neck, the side delts, and the abs. So sprinkle these in accordingly. Do a bit of higher volume so you can get a nice pump. Develop the muscles, especially for the neck. You don't want to be doing low reps because it's a sensitive spot. But yeah, sprinkle these in and you'll see great success. And for example, how I would structure this in a sample split is you could do push-pull legs 5 days a week. You could alternate. Maybe you do legs 1 time on 1 week, but you throw in some extra leg exercises on other days, on other weeks. As long as you're trying to hit 2 times per week on each of these movement patterns, you should be sweet. We've got upper lower. That's a very popular one. So you can train all the upper body related movements and then all the lower body related movements on a different day. So Monday upper, Tuesday lower, take a rest day on Wednesday, and then come and do it again on Thursday and Friday. Take the weekend off. You've hit all movement patterns twice per week and you're getting 3 days of recovery. Or you could do full body 3 times a week. You could literally pump 1 exercise for each of these 6 movement patterns 3 times per week and you'll be good. The more frequency here will be good for you because you'll have plenty of time to recover and you're not doing as many sets, as many different exercises. Alright, now I want to go over a few things which are absolutely essential when training, and I want to talk about how to actually train without killing yourself because a lot of times guys are doing it wrong. They're training like shit, they're not recovering properly, all these things. Few things you need to be doing is track your lifts, right? You need to be tracking how strong you're getting. You don't want to be tracking all the random bullshit exercises. If you stick to the staple 6, which I've explained, you can track each one of these and ideally you're going to be getting stronger week to week or month to month or year to year. That's how you're going to be knowing that you're actually making progress. See, I've made the mistake of not even tracking and just going into the gym and doing whatever and then wondering and shitting myself, why haven't I made any gains? It's because of this. Next thing is each rep needs to have control. You don't just want to be throwing weight around. We're doing quality over quantity here. We're focusing on quality reps, focusing on getting a good contraction, focusing on building true proprioceptive strength, which is when our muscles are actually doing the work and we're not using our joint angles and other compensation muscles to do the work. We want to be focusing on good form, control, but still don't be afraid to go heavy and still don't be afraid to have a little bit of form breakdown, but you need to be optimizing what you're doing so we can get the best results possible. And then the next thing is to treat lifting seriously, but make sure you're doing other athletic endeavors. This is not only going to make you appear more well-rounded and less like a weird gym cell and make you more attracted to females, but it's also going to help with things like mobility and general cardio athleticism, because to become undeniable, which is what I'm trying to teach you here, you still need to have a lot of other traits. You don't just want to have a good physique. You still need to be athletic. You still need to be able to run, to fight, to do all these other things. And when you're doing stuff outside of the gym as well, it's only going to feed back into the gym positively. And the final thing is to stretch daily and work on your mobility and movement. This is very similar, but I've made the mistake of not stretching, not warming up, and now I'm experiencing injuries, which I want to help you avoid, because it's no good. You stall, you plateau, and you can't make progress. Now, moving on, how do we actually get stronger? Because the thing is, most guys think that they can just go in the gym every single day and train and do whatever, but they wonder why they don't get bigger. And that's because if you're natural, especially, you have to get stronger to get bigger, right? The guys on steroids, they can come in and do high rep pump volume sets and shit, and their muscles are so prone to growth because of the anabolics they're taking. They can grow easier. For us, we can't just do the same thing. We need to be getting stronger and progressing, and these are two systems, two models I'm going to show you on how to actually do this. The first one is a very, very simple one called the linear progression model. This is what most beginners are going to start out as, and it basically is a linear, a straight, a consistent trend where you're increasing the load over time. So basically every workout, and you can do this when you're a beginner, every workout, as long as you're eating right and doing the correct things, you can add weight to the bar, weight to the dumbbell, weight to whatever, each workout. So for example, you could come in on Monday and do your bench press, and you could do 60 kilograms and then do your sets and reps, and then the next time you come in to do your bench press, you could just add 2.5 kilos, the smallest weight increment. And if you're doing the correct things, like I've explained, then you will be able to keep doing this for some time and really speed track your result and get to a point that you can't do this anymore because you've reached a natural potential. Because let's face it, if you could do this every workout, you'd be benching 1,000 kilograms. Once you get to that point, then you're going to implement double progression model, which is basically where instead of just increasing the weight, you're trying to hit a desired rep range and set range with a certain weight. And once you can fulfill that, you're going to increase the weight and reset the rep and sets. So for example, you can see here in week 1, if we were to do 100 pounds on any lift, we here are trying to go for 3 sets of 10, and you can see here they get 9, 9, 8. Then the next time they come in, they get 3 sets of 9. Okay, sweet. Then they're bulking, or they're eating right, or they're doing the correct recovery. They're able to get 10, and then still 8. So they still haven't hit the 3 sets of 10. But it's once they do, they hit the 3 sets of 10, they bump the weight up by the smallest increment. In our case, if you're in Australia, it's probably like 1.25 kilos, 2.5 kilos. They do that, and then they drop the amount of sets or the amount of reps, and then rinse and repeat until they can get to that 3 sets of 10 again. Now for us, for the training that I would recommend, I would be saying to do 2 sets of 4 to 8. That's how I've seen the best results, but it still follows the same model. And honestly, these 2 methods will get you to an aesthetic point. If you just follow these 2 things to a T, you will be able to get an aesthetic physique. You will be able to get the female gaze physique. Just focusing on increasing weight over time, and once you can't, every workout, increase the sets, increase the reps, and make it more intense, and slowly progress. It's all about consistency. So that is how we're going to build the female gaze physique, how we're going to build a perfect, stable base, a foundational strength and mass base, and then sprinkle in the aesthetic muscle groups on top, train them properly, and get that female gaze physique, that movie hero physique, which we're all seeking, and which the women we want are seeking as well. Finally, I want to go over a few things which will help you significantly, because it's what ascended my physique most. You need to follow all these things, but there are a few things that I did and that I achieved, which was when I really crossed the line between looking okay and looking good for the female gaze. And that you can see right here. Number 1 was spamming side deltoid raises almost every day. Now, like I said, this is one of the complementary muscle groups we need to be targeting if we're trying to develop the female gaze. And it was when I started doing heavy sets of this. Too many guys are doing light sets. When I did heavy sets, that's when they grew the most. I did both heavy on one day and then light on the other day, and I varied the frequency and varied the intensity. That gave me well-rounded results. The second thing is achieving a 2-plate weighted pull-up for reps, and I explained this before. This gave me the big lats that I currently have now that carry my physique, carry that V-taper frame, and make me look wider than I originally was. The other thing was developing my shoulder region by doing more vertical pressing than horizontal pressing. So I switched from flat bench press to things like incline and things like shoulder press, and it really helped me grow my shoulders and get a better, more aesthetic, more upper region focused physique, where the weighting is, where the weight of the muscles is more on the top, so it looks like I'm broader and it looks like I'm more masculine and stronger. And the last thing was just embracing routine and repeatability. Like I said, you don't need to be following online fluff. Just do the basics. These have been ingrained in history. They've worked for everyone that's followed them. You just need to be doing them over and over again. Don't get bored and don't follow the trend that you need to be changing your program every 4 weeks or else you're going to plateau. You, if you're doing the correct things, can do these exercises for the rest of your life, for your whole training career with little to no burnout. You might want to switch it up at one point, but to get to the aesthetic female gaze physique, you can just focus on these. Make it simple. Do not over obsess about the gym in your life. And that's how you're going to be able to make the best gains. And you can see here the physique I've been able to attain by following this training protocol, and it's only up from here. I just got to keep getting stronger and stick to that repeatability and that routine as well. So basically, if you just follow this protocol, this is how you can train for the female gaze physique in 2026. Follow the steps, focus on the staple 6, focus on the complementary female muscles, and you will actually achieve an aesthetic physique that can get you matches on dating apps, that can get you real world results and real world attraction, and just be aesthetic and confident overall, because that's what I want for you guys. I want to take you from insecure, from skinny to little losers to strong masculine guys, like what I did for myself. And if you want more help with this, then you can check out Project Undeniable, which is my full system on how to optimize your life, how to have a complete glow up, and it includes stuff like this. This just scratches the surface for what's truly required to become a well-rounded guy inside of 2026 and achieve optimal social and dating success. If you want help with that, check the link in the description. Let me know if you want a full nutrition guide on how to build a female gaze physique and how to glow up in general. And with that being said, remember, the progress is purpose, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.